Hello and welcome to ReginaldESQ. I'm Underhook and this is my review of the American Tier 8 tank destroyer, the T28. So is it any good? Yes, it's a very good tank destroyer, with one caveat. That is, it's very slow and painfully slow. The problem... Look, it's a great tank when it's in battle. The trouble is making sure it's in battle. It's very difficult to do. But let's get into the review. It is 1,150 hit points is average for a Tier 8 tank destroyer. The least goes to the SU-101. The Russians, they only get 990 hit points. But the British AT-15 gets a whopping 1,450 hit points. Weight-wise, this thing weighs around 60 tons, which is pretty heavy. It's not the heaviest, but it's pretty heavy. But it's irrelevant because you won't be ramming anyone. It's just too slow. And what do I mean by slow? Well, 18 kilometers per hour in forward. And look, even if you're going downhill, you won't see anything over 20. And reverse is very slow as well at 7 kilometers an hour. Now, that does make it the slowest Tier 8 TD. Well, equal slowest, along with its sister tank, the T28 prototype, which is the turreted version of this tank. They're both the same speed. But it's mind-bogglingly slow. Even the AT-15 does 20 in forward and 10 in reverse. So it's pretty slow. And the fastest TD is the Jagdpanzer, which does 55 in forward. And the SU-101 does 54, I think it is. So this thing is pretty darn slow. Now, the tracked reverse is also tragically slow at just 20 degrees a second. That is the equal slowest along with the T28 prototype and the AT-15. The best would be the Jagdpanzer with 38, and the RHM also has 38 tracked reverse. So this tank is very slow to move. And to give you an idea, I just recently had a battle on the top of Himmelsdorf. I went to the top. Both teams were sort of trying to snipe at each other at the top of the hill of Himmelsdorf with the castle there, as they do. And I just decided I'm going to bust through a hole here. I'm going to use my armor, bounce some shots, put some punishment in, and drive the enemy back and let my team push forward. And I did exactly that. It was great fun. I had about 2 minutes of intense battle, bouncing shots, hitting tanks, and all that sort of thing. And it did allow my team to push through and decimate the enemy top of the hill. Then my team charged down the hill, and we swept up the other team and won the game. However, as soon as that happened, my team pushed forward. I did not see another enemy tank for the rest of the game. So I had 2 minutes of fantastic fun in a battle, and I couldn't see another tank. And that is the trouble with this tank. Even if you play well, it's really hard to have big games because you simply can't keep up with the battle. And having a big damage game is really a combination of, okay, your skill as far as angling your tank, bouncing shots and all that, and pure luck. And pure luck comes into it a lot, and so far as if enemies just happen to drive towards you, basically. So that is and that is the trouble with a lot of slow tanks. So it can be frustrating in that respect, and if you don't like slow tanks, don't get this tank or the one that comes after it. Enough about the speed. It has a view range of 370 meters, which is also not good. It's the equal worst in the game. It shares that also with the ISU-152, the Ferdinand, the Frenchie, and the AMX MLA-48 also has terrible view range, as does the AT-15. They all have 370. Now, most of the rest have 380. The premium German 88 has 390, and the RHM has a whopping 400. So view range is not as big a thing, so you kind of do need other tank scouts to spot for you. But you're kind of you're either going to be at the front lines in this, breaking through the front lines using your armor to help your other tanks move forward, or you're going to be at range, hiding in the bushes, letting the scout tanks do the job, because you just can't afford to expose the sides of your tank. You can't afford to be alone on the front line. You'll just get surrounded and killed, and you can't turn fast enough to defend yourself. Signal range of 745 is excellent. It's not the best. The AT-15 has the best signal range, but it still is very, very good and not a problem at all. Camouflage wise, this tank has excellent camouflage, and you can see it's a very low profile tank. It's not, even though it's a big tank and has a monster of a gun on it, it looks awesome. It's not a very high tank, so it does enjoy really good camouflage. Now, it's not the best Tier 8 tank destroyer camouflage. That goes to the German RHM. And I think the second best camouflage would be the Russian SU-101. But this would be the third best, and is a lot better than the T28 prototype, because the T28 prototype is basically this tank with a turret on top. So the extra height makes the T28 prototype a lot easier to spot. Now, the gun traverse on this gun, though, isn't huge. It's 21 degrees, but that's about average for a Tier 8 tank destroyer. The worst is the ISU-152 with only 16 degrees of horizontal turret traverse. The best, of course, is the HM, because that's got a fully traversable turret. And the T28 prototype has a turret that traverses 286 degrees. It just won't point out the back, the T28 prototype. And of course, the AT-15 has an excellent 50 degrees. So you do have to move your tank tracks a lot to aim. And it also makes it problematic if you need to come out from behind cover, because you pretty much do need to come out and expose your side and then turn and face. You can't like keep your tank angled like this and shoot. You pretty much have to be pretty flat on, and that is a bit of an issue. Gun depression wise, the tank isn't good. It has 5 degrees of gun depression. Now the T28 prototype has 10 degrees of gun depression, as does the AT-15, so they're the best in class. But the 5 degrees of gun depression on this tank is at least better than the SU-101, which only has 2.3 degrees, which is truly awful. The tank does have 20 degrees of elevation, which is not bad for this tier. Alright, let's have a quick look at the grind for this Tankaroonie, and where have I got this down here? Here it is. Well, I started with the top engine, and I think I also started with the top radio, so I can't really tell you what it was like before those. I can tell you 100% need the track upgrade, because it takes you to traverse from 18 to 20, and it's just useless as it is anyway, so you definitely want to upgrade the best you can. The 105mm gun here, let me actually get these guns up. Alright, so the gun selection, you start off with this 90mm, which is not a bad gun. Has a pretty good rate of fire of 8.7. Penetration of 170 is a little bit low for Tier 8, especially if you're facing off against Tier 9s and 10s. But you'll get along okay with it at Tier 8. It does 240 damage per shot, which isn't a lot, but it does have pretty good accuracy, 0.35, and a fantastic 1.7 second aiming time. But you will probably want to move off that gun. And the 105mm is pretty good. 7.79 rate of fire is pretty good for a gun this size, with 198mm of penetration, which is also pretty good. And it does 320 damage per shot, which is pretty good. Accuracy of 0.38 isn't great, and an aiming time of 1.7 though is fantastic. So not a bad gun. You can have reasonable games with that. So it's not, the guns are okay. It's not a painful grind. And then this gun here, which you see on the tank here, is a bloody big, thick, long gun. 120mm gun, which just looks huge on this TD. 6.59 rate of fire for a gun this size is actually not too bad. 248mm of penetration is really good, and if you want to use premium ammunition, you can get 297mm of penetration, which is great for a Tier 8 TD. 400 damage per shot is also really good, and especially at against Tier 8s, you really do start to scare a lot of people with this gun. 0.38 accuracy is okay. The gun isn't really all that accurate, and it is a little bit inconsistent, and you will miss shots. But when it's behaving itself, it's pretty good. It's not terrible. It just it's not great. The only trouble with this Top Gun is the aiming time does go up. So instead of the 1.7 we've been enjoying with the earlier guns, it goes up to 2.1. But that's still fairly quick, really. It's not too bad. Now I had binoculars, camouflage net, and vents fitted to this tank. You could fit a gun rammer, which would probably be pretty good, but yeah, I just stuck with those. Now, of course, if you're front line pushing through, camouflage and binoculars are basically useless, so you want to probably change that to something else. I tried a bit of sniping, tried a bit of pushing through, a bit of variety, and I just decided to leave those on. I have small repair kit, large first aid kit fitted, and my crew is fully trained in, I think, all the games I'll be showing you. The commander is 100% mentor and is working the 64% recon at the moment. The two of the crew have 99% repairs currently, and repairs is a really good thing to have on this tank, because if this tank is tracked, it's kind of dead, because the sides are so weak. If someone gets around you, you're in big trouble. So you really want to repair your tracks quickly. I've got repair kits for that, but I've also got the repair skills up. And my driver is working on clutch braking just to help speed up the track traverse, because it is important on this tank. But basically, you've got two modes of play with this tank. You can, like I say, push through the front lines, and it can work really well, especially at tier 8. You'll bounce a lot of shots. But there are some weaknesses on the tank, which I will show you in Tank Inspector, and some strategies to avoid being hit, and also some ways to take this tank down. I'll talk about in Tank Inspector as well. But basically, yeah, you can either snipe from range, but it's not very accurate, or push through on the front lines, and it does okay. Now, the engine can be taken out from frontal shots to this tank, so do be careful with that. And tier 10 tanks can pretty much penetrate everything except your mantlet, so you can't rely on your armor too much once you hit tier 10. Alright, let's get in and have a look at the armor and have a look at some gameplay. The T28 in Tank Inspector. Let's have a look at that colorized view. Now we can see that the lower plate isn't that thick. It's 133mm, but it's extremely heavily sloped, so no one's really going to be punching a hole through that. It's ricochet angle anyway. The upper plate is 203mm thick, exactly the same as the upper plate on the T28 prototype. It's not very heavily sloped though, it's reasonably flat. So whilst a lot of tier 6 and 7 tanks will have extreme difficulty with that, and some tier 8 tanks will as well, 9s and 10s, if you're flat on, will pretty much punch a hole through it, no problems. The upper part of the superstructure though is a little bit different. So if you can keep your hull covered and allow superstructure, it's a little bit more bouncy. So we can see it still is 203mm thick, but it is pretty well angled. So these sections here close to the gun are probably the flattest, and we're pretty much just a 203, but as we get further out, it's going right up to over 300mm here, and it's pretty darn bouncy. If you decide to angle the tank, the front becomes pretty good. So we're getting up here 230s here, and same here, it's about the same 230. So you're getting a pretty much consistent pattern across the front of the tank, although these areas that were going to 300s are now in the 200s. However, the side is still a ricochet, the upper side and even the lower side at 102, which is pretty heavy for the side of a tank, lower side of a tank. And the 51 is adequate to stop most tanks from overmatching the side of your tank. So it's pretty safe to angle this tank, but you can't return fire from this position. So if you do get tracked, you won't be able to shoot back. Now the mantlet is extremely tough. If we have a look at this red section here behind the mantlet, that is 254mm thick. And then we have this pink section of spaced armor overlaying that. So it's 203mm overlaying 254. Basically, don't shoot the mantlet. As well as that, it is heavily sloped, and even up there is a ricochet anyway. Now that does extend below the gun. You've got the 2 layers of armor. Even right up to the side of the gun, you've got the 2 layers. But there is a small section on top of the gun where it is just the 203mm of overlaid armor. But really, why would you bother trying to hit that 203mm when this is 203mm here, and it's a much easier target to shoot? So pretty much nobody in their right mind is going to shoot anywhere near your mantlet. From the front though, the cupolas are weak spots, and most people will shoot at your cupolas. They are 102mm thick. Fortunately though, they are rounded and sloped, which is pretty darn good. So if they're not aiming at the center, you can see here we're getting pretty good armor values. They really need to aim in line in the center and not too high. So yeah, the cupolas aren't too bad. Now the strategy I employ a lot in this tank, and I think you'll be seeing it in the replays, is to keep the tank wiggling from side to side while people are shooting at you. So one, they have a lot of trouble hitting those cupolas, and also if they're aiming for a specific point on the tank here, you've got much more chance of deflecting it. So say if they're aiming here and you're doing this, there's a much better chance now they're going to hit the mantlet. So to avoid doing that, they'll have to aim more to the side where your armor is a lot better, and you've got a better chance, or they may arm down here, and you're much better chance of them hitting it on an angle when you're doing that. Alright, so the sides, as we already said, 51 and 102 down here. The tracks offer quite a bit of protection, of 20 on top of that, so it's not too bad there at all. The rear of the tank is also 51, and the top is 25mm, which means that artillery shells will pass straight through the top of your tank. Now, so yeah, I did say about that wiggling. Now tier 9 and 10 tanks won't have too much trouble with your armor, and I did find the tank that annoyed me the most was actually the T30, the tier 9 T30 American tank destroyer. Just punched holes in my upper plate here and the upper superstructure of my armor. Even when I was wiggling, he just didn't care, just went bang, and it happened quite a few times with that tank, so that is a problem. If you do get hit in this cupola here, it almost always kills your driver, so you may wish to carry a what do you call it, repair kit or driver revival kit, health kit. Otherwise your tank will be even slower than it already is. Alright, let's get into some gameplay.
Time to roll out.
The map is Highway. It's a tier 8 game, so we're up the top of the tree there, and this is a very well armoured TD at tier 8. At tier 8 the armour is really good. So, but it's very slow, as you can see. We're doing our 18, now 17 kilometers an hour. It's pretty darn slow. I am going to speed this first section up because it's a little bit boring, and first I'll just let you see the speed it reaches down this hill. Admittedly, it's not a paved road, but you can see we touched on 20, now we're doing 19. Now it's 20 again, so it's not fast. Alright, now let's move it along a little bit. So I'm intending to go up into town and try and see if I can help do a bit of breaking through. I've got to be a little bit careful because I do have a 30 and a Jag Tiger 88. I've got a couple of good strong TDs there. I can't afford to just barrel out in front of them, but I'm hoping that I can help our team break through. So now we're back to 1 time speed. Actually, I'll put it back to 2 times. Here we go. And back to 1 times. Okay, so I can see here there's a few of their tanks gathered on the corner, so I'm intending to do what I can to use my armor and my gun to break through and allow our tanks to get the advantage. And that's really one of the things you can do in this tank, is try and give your team the advantage. You may die doing it, and we get a nice one there into the Jag 88 there, straight into his lower plate. You may die doing it, and we bounce a shot from him. Let's actually just pause that and see where that bounced. He hit the mantlet. It was our lucky day. And unpause. Okay, so now that tank, the enemy Jag Tiger, died in the perfect position for me because I can now use it to side scrape from. So the ISU 152 wants a piece of me, and I'm not that interested in doing big damage to him. I'm just going to track him because I know I've got a tank behind me who will hopefully pound him. Now the T29 just shot at me and bounced, and I've just been bounced again. I've bounced T29 again. Now I have his lower plate, I take it. Just giving a little bit of the side of my angled side of the tank. Should be an auto bounce. Just moving backwards and forwards in case he's trying to aim at my cupolas. Just making it a little bit hard. Now there is artillery, which is another reason why I'm moving backwards and forwards. So he actually does bounce off my side there, and we managed to get another shot into him, and our teammate finishes him off. So as you can see here, we are changing the course of the battle. KV3 comes out, gets hit by my teammate and hit and tracked by me. He's in big trouble now. Now as I angle back here, we just bounce a shot from the KV3 there, but the T29 actually manages to penetrate inside with a standard AP round, which was, we must have angled just slightly too much. But the KV3, you can see there, actually did bounce. Let me check that. I think it was actually off our cupola. Yep. So he aimed for the rear cupola and bounced off a cupola. So, and there's where the T29 shot went in the side there. And you can see some of the other bounces. So a very bouncy tank at this tier, but not impenetrable. And put a nice one to T29 there. I'm wiggling my tank from side to side. I don't want him to be able to aim. And he aims at the front because we're wiggling. That's what people normally do when you wiggle. And we bounce the shot. We get another one into him, and you can see 412. It's big damage when you're hitting a tier 7 tank. Once again, moving, wiggling. He bounces another shot, and we're able to get rid of him. Now is the time when I say, like, from this stage now, it's very hard for us to have any further part in the game because we're just too slow to catch up to the battle. I'm pretty sure this T29, I'll just speed it up a little bit. Oh yeah, it's over. So a pretty good game and a good demonstration of how you can side scrape and how the armour holds up really well in tier 8. So class 1 game, we also managed to get high caliber. Let's have a look at the next screen. So we finished second for XP on our team, only just. Our KV3 must have had a really good game, and must have done a bit of spotting too, because it didn't do as much damage as us from the look of it. And the next screen, we fired 10 shots. All of those shots hit, all of them penetrated, although one of them was a tracking shot on the ISU 152. We did 3,266 damage. We received 9 hits, one of them penetrated us, and we bounced 8 shots, which is awesome. You do have to, I find, wiggle the tank though. If you remain stationary, people can penetrate you. Damage blocked by armor 2,540, which, considering the tank only has 1,150 hit points, that's pretty awesome. What did we do? We damaged 4, destroying 3, and we did a little bit of spotting damage, which was probably when we tracked that ISU. 48,000 income, and after the ammunition expenses taken out, it was 27,000 profit. So I didn't use any premium ammunition. You can see there it goes pretty well. Over 1,045 XP, I think it was enough for class 1 in this tank. Next game. So, okay, Mr. Underhook, you threw your weight around in an extremely well armoured tank when it was top tier, and you bounced some shots. Big deal. How does it do in a tier 10 game? Alright, so this is a tier 10 game, and it's a real tier 10 game. The enemy team has 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tier 10 tanks. So it's fair income. You can see we're down in the bottom of the list there at tier 8. Now, I'm trying to get to the front lines. The tank takes a while to get there though, so let's speed it up. Now I see I have a scout going across there, that 1375. I think, gee, he could spot someone on the other side. So I pull up here. I stop moving and pull up because he's going to spot heaps of tanks for me, and I'm going to blow them away. Instead, for some reason, he doesn't spot anything on the other side of the valley at all. I guess there's no one there, and he cops a couple of hits. So I figure I'll speed it up again now. I'm wasting my time. So I take off again. Unfortunately, it slowed me down and kept me out of the battle for a little while. I'm not sure if that was a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe it was good because maybe no one spotted me and no one's been targeting me. I don't know. Anyway, we're catching up now. And here we go. We're in back to normal speed. So we've got an IS-7 here. Don't know how we'll go against an IS-7. Pretty tough tank. Oh, T110E4. And as I drive that tank myself, I know it's got a weak cupola, but I think I missed. Oh no, looks like I bounced there. Looks like I did hit the roof of the tank right near the cupola, and it bounced off. T110E5 also has a weak cupola. It's the T110E3 that has the strong cupola. There's T110E4, and we get one in. 381. Pretty happy with that against the tier 10 tank. So now we're back downhill a little bit. So here basically you can see we're really in a supporting role. This one we get into, and that was the T110E5 this time, into its cupola. Now I did say the accuracy isn't that good. But we're actually, in this game so far, doing pretty well, considering these tanks are at about just over 200 meters range. It's not long range shooting by any means, it's mid range. Get one there into the T62A, who now decides to do a runner. And we're reloading, so we can't get one into him. He manages to get across. So I've got to watch that if he tries to sneak up on us later on. We bounced that one. I did leave it aimed slightly to the left because I thought he was going to back up, and he didn't back up before I fired, so I think I probably hit the side. You can see there the green mark where I did indeed hit the side of his cupola, not the centre. But we got that one in. Whoa! Well, he was on low health, and I think he just decided I'm going to blow this guy away before I die. And he nearly did over 1,000 damage to me, left me with just 71 health. Almost took my entire health. But we managed to kill him. And we get the killing shot on the T110E4. Woohoo! So we've actually killed 2 tier 10s. Woohoo! Yeah, that's alright. Now this is where the speed of the tank is a problem. We're way behind now. But you can see there though the difference in tier 10. Like, you know, you can bounce a lot of shots, but Let's have a look at the armor and see where that shot went in. Oh, had that been slightly lower or slightly more to the left, it would have bounced. It only just got us. It was standard AP shell, but wow. So there you go. We were a bit perhaps unlucky. And so here you see it takes a long time to take any further part in the game. This has T28, which is the tank you get after this one. I am in his cupola, although it is angled back a little bit. And he's wiggling and everything. He's doing the right thing. And oh! Alright, I am the first to admit I was lucky there to get that pen. Well, I was aiming at the right place, but he was wiggling. I was kind of moving my gun a little bit. Yeah, okay, I was lucky. Standard AP rounds, I've only used standard ammunition, so you can see even with standard ammunition, you can penetrate tier 10 tanks. Oh, that was a tier 9, but very well armed one. And so, yeah, it's not bad. Now, we're winning the game by a mile. They only have a Conqueror left. Now, the Conqueror has very good frontal turret armor, but that's about it. So hopefully, here he is. Oh, yes. Let's put a hole in his upper plate. And actually, I think it hit his net. You can see it hit his turret, because he turned his turret, my shot. And that's where you can see the accuracy. It's good enough to hit a tank at this sort of range, long range, 484 meters. And we get the killing shot, which is great. But it's not good enough to, pick weak spots or anything. So a pretty good game in a tier 10 match. And as I said, we took a supporting role. You can't really take a frontline role in a tier 10 game. Like try and use your armor to push through, because the armor just won't stand up. As you saw when that 88 hit us and it nearly killed us with one shot. So you can't really take a front line, but you can be quite effective at supporting, and you can bounce shots at range a little bit. Anyway, I was really happy with that game. So we actually finished on top for XP. I guess that's because we're a tier 8 in a tier 10 game. Even though you can see here the E100 here did over 6,000 damage, but we still ended up getting more XP. Next screen. So we fired 11 shots, all 11 hit, which is pretty good. Not always that good, I can tell you. 9 penetrated, which is a really great result at this tier. 2,994 damage, and 728 was from distance above 300 meters, which was the Conqueror we shot at the end. We damaged 6, destroying 3, and did a tiny bit of assistance damage, not much. Now there was a bit of a bonus going, so profit-wise we would have made about 20,000 profit, which once again I only used standard ammunition, which does show you that the gun does work well at tier 10. And you can still make a profit. It must be, though, some people have great games in this tank, because 1158 was a class 1 badge and not a mastery badge in this tank. Next game.
Let's go.
The map is South Coast and it's a tier 8 game. Yes, we're top of the tree again, and this time we're going to do some serious damage. This is actually I think it's the most damage I did in a game, which is still not a record breaker or anything like that. It's not that good, but it's pretty good. And it does, I guess, show you, once again, at tier 8, if things go your way, you can have great games. But it does depend, to a certain extent, on the enemy coming at you. So that you can actually get... Because you can't move. If you go to the wrong place, the chance of you getting to where the battle's at before it's all over is pretty slim. So we've got a Type 62 here. And well done to our T28, who got the early spot, which enabled me to get that shot in. I start backing up, and then I decide to come back because I see these other tanks here, and there is no artillery in this game. So I decide I'm just going to sit here and bounce shots. It's hard for people to aim well at me because... Oh, that went into his lower plate. Another nice shot. It's hard for people to hit me well, simply because I am behind a bush, and even though I'm spotted so they can see the outline of my tank, it's really hard to accurately aim at cupolas and all the rest of it when all you can see is that sort of dotted red outline through the bush. So that means I'm sort of safer than I would be normally. Also, I know that there's only 4 tier 8 tanks on their team. Oh no, 3 tier 8 tanks on their team. And I haven't been hit by anything big, so it's probably not on this side of the map. That Jet Tiger is probably not on this side of the map. So T28/2, of course, very easy for me to penetrate from the side. He moves back a little bit, but into a bad spot. And then moves back into the exact same place he was when I hit him the first time. That's a bit silly, good sir. And he dies for it. That was, yeah. What can we say? Don't do that. If you get hit somewhere, don't go back there. Unless you know the tank that shot you is dead. As you can see, no trouble penetrating the AT-8. Now watch this.
Enemy vehicle destroyed.
Now I'm pretty sure that was in the front of his tank. So at this gun, you know, when you're shooting at lower tier tanks like that, even ones that are fairly well armoured like that tank, it really... Admittedly, I was trying to aim in the general area of where I thought his cupola would be, but I think we would have pinned him anyway. Okay, so their 88 is down on the beach, which is good news for me, so he cannot shoot at me. And the Tiger 2 makes a run for it, and we get a nice shot into the side of it. So this is the ideal scenario for this tank in that I've hardly had to move. Everyone's just driving around in front of me, and I'll use my gun and blast them, and when they return fire, it just bounces. Yeah, great, because you just, you know, they've maneuverability. But at this stage now, I decide that if I'm going to get any more shots in, I have to move forward. So I figure, look, I've had a good game already. I've done, what, 2-8 or more than 2-8, I know, because we didn't see that shot hit the 88. So if I die now, I've had a good game. We're doing pretty well, so hey, let's push forward, and if they end up getting the sides and killing us, so be it. But otherwise, if I sit up there, we've got a team that we look like we're starting to win. If I sit up there, I could just end the game without taking even one more shot in the entire game. So I decided to just push on forward. So I'm looking at these tanks here on my left, thinking, okay, I want to try and get a shot at those. And then, oh, a VK on my right is spotted. So I'll have that, thank you very much. If I can get there. Wake me when we get there. There he is. And boom, straight into his very flat upper plate. And he's sitting still. I think he's been tracked, so he's basically a goner. As you can see, against a... I think he's only a tier 6, isn't he? Yeah, he's only a tier 6. So you can see it, just 2 shots was enough to waste him. And the Tiger bounces off us. We put one in him. And you see, we're actually muscling a tier 8 heavy. From front on, this tank is very scary. Now, there's our .38 accuracy kicking in, and we actually miss. But the Tiger bounces off us again. He must be cursing his luck. And he's gone. So really, yeah, you're able to muscle tier 8 heavies in this TD from the front. If they get to your side, you're stuffed. And here's their 88, and he's turning side on for me. Thank you very much. And 395 we do to him. Here's their, not their last tank. No, they've got 3 more tanks remaining. We still have 5 tanks. So we sort of have the upper hand, although 3 of ours, oh, we just lost another TD. So we have 2 TDs, a medium and our light ELC, and they have 2 heavies and a Cheeto. So yeah, and I'm still full health, so really we definitely have the upper hand. Now though, I'm in a little bit more difficult territory because I don't know where they are. And whilst we've seen how fantastic the frontal armour is on this tank, the side armour isn't real good. Alright, Tiger P has been spotted, so we'll start moving towards. We might be able to get a shot in here. And there's their 112. Good, they're together, which is great. And we get a nice shot. Nearly killed him. 354 is a very low damage roll for us in this tank. And wow, if we had to roll average damage, he'd be dead right now. Now, as I turn to face him, the Tiger P shoots me. And this is where this tank is in trouble. I really want to do damage with that shot, but all we managed to do is track him, and now the other guy shoots me. So If these guys work together well, they can actually finish me here, because this is the big problem with this tank. So I try to take another shot at him to at least try and track him so that he can't pop out, but I've failed to do so. Hopefully I can shoot him now before he pops back, and someone else gets him anyway, and I'm tracked. The other guy gets shot through. So you can see here, just these two tanks working me over have almost killed me. And there you go, the game's over. So that game had a bit of everything. It had some sniping, it had some muscling in other tanks, but it also showed at the end there the real weakness of this thing. When you have tanks and you're on either flank, or even like on angles like that, you turn to face one, you get blasted. Turn to face the other one, you get blasted. And really, you can easily get wasted, which is why you either want to have the front of your tank pointing down a narrow alleyway in a town or a valley, or you want to be at the back, or you want to have lots of tanks on your flanks protecting you. Being out in the open on your own, you're pretty much a dead duck. Anyway, good game, class 1, high caliber and tank sniper. We finished on top for experience, and we finished on top for damage as well. Yeah, pretty good game. So we fired 19 shots, 17 of those were direct hits. Wow, it's pretty awesome. And 16 of them penetrated, which is also great. At tier 8, this tank can be an absolute beast. We did 5,141 damage, which is really good for tier 8. And 2,400 of that was from distance from long range, over 300 meters. We received 8 hits, 4 of them penetrated. And they were all the hits that hit us from the side angles at the end. Front on this tank is pretty brutal at tier 8. Damage blocked by armor, 1420. We damaged 8 tanks, destroying 4, which was a really great game. We earned 60,000, and we did spend a bit on ammo, even though I'm pretty sure I only used standard ammunition. I may have used a repair kit there as well. I'm pretty sure I did actually repair my tracks towards the end there. But yeah, profit, it's not bad, not bad. Now, we earned raw XP of 1226. Now that's only a class 1 in this tank, so it must be I didn't get master in this tank, and bloody hell, I don't know what you need to do, but obviously you need to do a lot more than what I just did. So yeah, anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching my review of the T28. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more reviews, please subscribe to ReginaldESQ. Have fun.